Okay, so I just wanted to take a moment to introduce Denise and also to kind of let you guys know what we're doing here tonight. So one of the things that we decided to do as part of the GEMS College of Energy Medicine is we wanted to do more things that build community, build awareness, let us connect in new ways and find out new things. And so Hannah and I started running study halls every week. So there's a couple study halls every week. And the idea behind it is kind of like a study hall in a high school or in a college, a place where you might be just doing your homework, doing your assignments, researching, but also other people might be working there too. And maybe you meet a friend there and maybe you get to bounce some ideas off each other. So we wanted to create space for people to do practice sessions and case studies and even just sort of boring things like reviewing their notes from a class or working on their binders or something like that. And then we thought we would also like to start at least once a month inviting somebody to be part of that and be a bit of a feature and maybe let us know something new or when it's less formal than like an actual class or workshop or something like that, a space where we can also participate and ask questions and maybe see something, see a demonstration or a new technique. So we invited Denise Cambiotti here for the very first one of these participatory study halls. And Denise, if you don't know her, is amazing. We've known each other for a long time in various aspects of the specialized kinesiology holistic health world. And it's great because we've worked on associations together. We've been students in the same class together. She's been my student, I've been her student, and it's been an interesting collaboration. And so I'm really, really happy to have her and her courses as part of our curriculum. So I think I'm just going to hand it over there and let you tell us a little bit about muscle tuners.
That's great. Thanks a lot for having me on. I really, really appreciate having new people who get to listen to me talk. Okay, so I have been asked to talk about muscle tuning, and I promise I won't turn it into a big infomercial. It's not a sales pitch. I am just letting you know how we're similar to Touch for Health and how we're different. And that usually helps people get things sorted in their mind. And it also will help if you know people who want to jump in and come in from another perspective. And I adore Touch for Health, and not taking away from Touch for Health. I'll just be talking to you about what we're focusing on doing. So is everybody in this room familiar with Touch for Health? Can I just get some head nods? Okay, so yeah, okay, good. Ish, we have an ish, and we have an up. Okay, great. Okay. So that way I'll know how to present my presentation, and you can jump in and ask me questions if needed at any time. And I'll definitely give you a chance to ask questions at the end of my little description, as I think will be less than 6 minutes for sure. And then I really cannot wait to talk to you about some real basic stuff that we do in Touch for Health. And a lot of us don't know the why, or we don't know how we can make it more, how to really bring it into our sessions. So here we go. Let's see. First of all, how we're similar or different from Touch for Health. And I'm going to start with a nod for Matthew Thie, who knows that we're using Touch for Health kind of content, even though I've come at it from an applied kinesiology background and not really a lot of the stuff in muscle tuners. It's a little different than Touch for Health. It is more aligned with what the AK chiropractors do. And for that, because it walks like a duck and kind of quacks like a duck, we have a trademark use agreement with Matthew where we pay him a royalty for the material that we use. So just want to let you know that it's not ripping off this information. We specialize in teaching people to do excellent manual muscle monitoring, because in my world, this is one of the most incredible gateways towards healing. And so when you know how to do muscle testing well, and you know how to wake things up that aren't working well, it is really fantastic for general wellness. And I know I'm talking to a choir here, right? Everybody's going, yes, I've had miracles happen in my clinic too. So we focus on teaching muscle testing. We add a few extra muscles that we find are very important because we like to work with seniors and athletes, and some muscles were not in the Touch for Health repertoire that are pretty important to most bodies. And we like to work with the gait mechanism. We call it gait mechanism reset. So everybody's seen that from Touch for Health 3. We like to add a little twist to it. And we teach reactive muscle reset because this is one of the crown jewels of Touch for Health. And I have run into more than one Touch for Health instructor who basically does their best to teach it, and they never use it in clinic because they find it too difficult to figure out who's the reactor, what's the reactive, what am I doing, blah, 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 blah. And so we're doing our real best to simplify that process because this is what really clears chronic pain. So what we do add on top of that is having an online program that people can access forever and learn at their own speed. And we teach a super quick way to identify when a muscle test is really not okay. And the thing is we don't assume that a locked muscle is for sure truly happy. And this is the one really brilliant thing to add on to Touch for Health that makes it that much more powerful, is you're not missing stuff that's really truly not happy. And we created the dynamic tissue reset, which originally was called dynamic muscle reset. And we found out, guess what, it's doing more than just muscles. And we're releasing emotional stress that's in muscles, in tendons, in ligaments, in fascia, with absolutely no fuss. And we've created the dynamic emotional alignment reset, which we basically affectionately call tapping with a muscle tuner twist. So a lot of people are experienced with the idea of emotional freedom tapping and those types of tapping that have grown up out of Roger Callahan's work. So we've modified it and focused it in a new way. And we've also accumulated and organized what I think is a priceless accumulation of coaching recordings that started because of the pandemic, and that's all included. And one of the things that I knew I had to do when I started this company was to never let anybody behind to figure things out on their own. And so that's why no matter how few people may show up, make time in their week, I show up to coach and mentor them on Zoom for 6 months as part of the program. Because I really, really want people to know and understand and feel confident with what they're doing. So really, it's a nice combination of having a color manual and a video that accompanies it. You turn the page and there's another video, another chunk of information. At the end of every module, there's a quick little assessment. We have downloadable extra stuff that you can use that makes your life in clinic a little easier, because I know what I got frustrated with when I've taken courses, and I've done my best to make this as user-friendly, as convenient, and as complete as possible for people to get home run results. So the marketing people coming out and talking through my lips, I swear it's not me. All right. And then the one really amazing thing that we do is we went out, and it took us about 3 years to get the Canadian trademark and a couple more years to get the American trademark. So the title Muscle Tuner Specialist is now a registered trademark, and people who pass our qualifications can market themselves as a licensed muscle tuner specialist. And when I go to a network event and I identify myself as a muscle tuner specialist who helps people tune up their bodies, much like you tune up a car, or tune up a piano, a musical instrument, people will go, what? I've got some muscles that can be tuned up. And so the title itself is pretty good for marketing. If you're real into working with structure, then this is one approach you could take by having that trademark. So let's see, we have the Foundations program, which is a great base for anybody new to the field. And it's a wonderful refresher, as many of our Touch for Health colleagues have told us. because it's refined their knowledge and understanding of what they're doing and why they're doing it. And then we have 3 mastery levels. So if you already have a background with muscle testing, fine tuning is really great because it focuses on extra muscles of the fingers, the wrists, the elbows, the hips, the knee, foot muscles, just extra little things, you know, when you've got that rock in your shoe and it's annoying you. We work with those kind of muscles, that tiny little guys that just somehow, you know, make things difficult for some people. And we also teach how postural reflex have been hiding things from you that you've been missing, and or working with these reflexes, it complements your balancing work. So if you've got tough cases, if things like your results aren't durable, or you have people who are a little bit more neurologically disorganized than your average client, then that's, of course, it's helpful. And then tuning with surrogates just takes the whole idea of working with a surrogate to a whole other level. It really opens you up to working with a huge number of structures that maybe some of you haven't had access to before. And by teaching you, now you've accessed it, how the heck are you going to correct it? And this is part of the reason I've seen in some of the research from the chiropractors is one would say, this muscle is strengthened by this reflex, and the other one would say, no, it's not, it's strengthened by this. And it's like that, all of this is like, stop it already. Let's figure out how to find something and fix it. And it's really not difficult to do. And I'm really happy to provide that. And then the third course is tuning reactives and beyond. And as much as I've said how reactives are so amazing, if you've got reactive balances that are not holding, I want you to open up your concept or your mind that maybe it's because the reactivity isn't just between one muscle and another muscle. So think about that, because that really starts to get exciting about working with a muscle in relation to a chakra or a muscle in relation to a meridian. So you just take that and run with it, play with it. But if you want to know more, then reach out to me. Okay, so that's the big, what I didn't mean to be an infomercial, but that's it. That's what Muscle Tuners is about. It's just we want to crank out some confident, happy people that are getting great results, support people the whole way through. So any questions about that before I share some really cool hints and tips? Okay, you can always interrupt again anytime you wish. Now, just because I might record and use this next part, I'm going to stop the recording and start it up again. Okay, fantastic. I've just found that it is way more convenient to modify things with the videos when you've got smaller chunks. Okay, so I've been thinking about what I'm going to share with this group because you guys are probably all amazingly experienced and awesome people. So please forgive me if what I have to share sounds a little bit too basic. The thing is sometimes we forget how powerful some of the basics are. And some of the things I'm going to present to you are through the filter of me being also an applied physiology instructor. And one of the key things, one of the key concepts in applied physiology is about activating neurology. When you activate the neurology and the brain goes, whoa, what's up? And then you do something, you're going to have a more powerful and more durable correction. Now let's go to the most foundational thing. Everybody here knows about the switching on points, correct? Some people will call them brain buttons. Do any of you take a measurement with, you know how you take a measurement before you do muscle balancing, right? You go, okay, where's the pain? How much is the pain? What's the quality of pain? Show me what you can't do, that kind of thing. All right, well, how many of you take a measurement before just doing the brain buttons and immediately after? Can I get a show of hands? Pretty much nobody, right? Well, you're going to want to. And you know, in Touch for Health, when I was taking my first classes, it was just like, I'm here to learn muscle testing. I want to do it like my chiropractor does and have people go, woo, right? Like, what happened? And so let's just get through this boring basic stuff just because I want to go get the muscle testing fun stuff, right? Well, we have, for example, one star pupil called Allison. And she did a demonstration in front of a group of people as she gathered together. And we're always hammering at muscle tuners, take a measurement, a pre and a post. And so she had people take measurement of discomfort, pain, whatever. And then she says, okay, everybody, we're going to do this. And she was just doing your basic stuff. And one woman went and made some astounding sound of some sort. And she went, what are you noticing? And the woman went, my peripheral vision has come back. Now, that's the only study I've heard of that, like a report like that. But the K27s are key master acupuncture points, and they're really, really important to the right and left integration of the body. And this woman had had a stroke, I think it was about 7 years prior. And so she had this kind of really limited vision. And by activating these points, boom. And we've had a number of our students go through and say, well, let's measure the before and after of doing all of these buttons, right? And it's astounding that most people will get 40% of their challenge, whatever they've come to, resolved just by doing that. So never, 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 ever skip switching on before a session. And I invite you to take a measurement and say, okay, currently the pain is 8 out of 10. Let's just do this. And let's notice what your pain is. And even if they say, what? It's gone down to a 6 or a 4 in 1 minute, they'll think you're a magician. So please make sure you do that. And I love Dr. Charles Krebs, taking classes with him. And he once had a story about when he was in his student days, how somebody had come downstairs from, they were in a house because there's a course somewhere. And she'd come down from the bedroom and she says, oh, it's weird because I feel like I've got pins and needles in my arm. But the weird thing is I was lying on the other side of my body and I got pins and needles over here. And Charles just went, hey, well, that's switching. Just do this. And so she's, what? And so she did it. And then she shrieked and went, oh my God, the pins and needles feeling went to the other side. Now that is neurologically significant because a doctor would normally say that's impossible. And so this is the power of the right and left integration of the K27s. And according to Dr. Goodhart and other AK doctors who were doing research, they considered these points as an extra neural lymphatic area that most muscles would respond to. So if you happen to have a client coming in and the muscle keeps switching off, just whatever you're going to do to switch on the muscle, whatever it is, get them to also rub the K2, or you can activate the K27s as a bonus point just to see what happens there. Because what did I say, people? They cause a right and left, you're all muted, integration. Okay, so that's just another way to say that's so basic, and you do them at the beginning of the session and then you kind of forget to ever use them again, right? Isn't that right? All right, so I've also checked out that K27s just used as an acupressure point, just all by them lonesome without putting a hand over your navel. These points are attributed also for improving breathing and supporting the immune system and helping to alleviate fear. So this might have been helpful for a few thousand people this last couple of years. So just teach people with or without the belly button, hand over the other hand on the belly button, get them to rub their K27s. And I was so excited at the Neurology conference when Marco Rado said, put your hand here. So everybody put your hand at the back of your head, just the lower occiput, and sit fairly straight. Keep your head straight. And now just move your eyes to the right and the left. Do you notice anything under your hand? Do you feel that very subtle activation of those suboccipital muscles right here? I just thought that was phenomenal. So your vision is really, really important, and how your eyes are working and tracking to actually the speak English, suboccipital muscles. They are really important at getting your head attached to your spine and can affect your atlas. And if your atlas is out, it can mess up a whole bunch of other stuff. So sometimes doing something as simple as helping with visual integration, you know, when in Touch for Health, you say, okay, if your arm switches off when you look right or further left, you do this with the eye in position, correct? It's also really good if you're just doing it for yourself to, when you're rubbing your K27s, one of which is on the right, one is on the left, so you move your eyes as far as you can to one direction and then the other direction. And so add that extra little dimension, because anything you can do to take the stress off the eyes affects a whole bunch of proprioception. Just a whole bunch more stuff than where Touch for Health goes. It's just good for you, so just do it. And then obviously, if you're going to do these buttons here under the nose, I love how you're smiling there. Okay, and one on the chin, then move your eyes up and down just for the heck of it. So when you're rubbing those points, move your eyes up and down. And when you're doing the tailbone, look at something way over there and then look at something up close. And so exercise those visual circuits while you're de-stressing these points, activating these points to de-stress. And to take it even further is, if you're rubbing these from right to left, move your body right to left. And make sure my chair is behind me. When you're rubbing the points, the governing 26 and CV24, move your body in this dimension. And when you're rubbing the one in the back on the tailbone, step forward, step back, step forward, step back. When you're activating the neurology and you're rubbing points that help to correct imbalances, it seems like a kind of a nice fit. How's it sound to everybody? Is that something you would want to add in sometimes with some people? Okay, great. So that's just some real basic stuff. The thing is the eye position thing, it really connects also to the gates. And I'll be talking about the gates in a minute. And there's something that some of us know how to work with, and it's called the centering dimension. So where your body is in space, and how your brain does talk into muscles to switch on and switch off based on if you're walking on pavement, or you're walking on a rocky shore, or you're hopping from one log on the beach to another log, you know, or whatever, what have you. The eyes are important. So keep that in mind, that in Touch for Health 1, we learned to say, okay, look this way, look that way, rub them, do that, look up, look down. If it's stress, you're going to rub these points. And then we never do anything more with it. The thing is it's really, really powerful to do at the beginning of every single session, to check for it, scan it. I don't know if like you've got advanced powers of deduction, but it's something very important, because if your eyes are off, it can affect everything else. And by doing the eyes, the visual inhibition correction, it can take a whole bunch of little junk off the table. It saves you time in the long run. Now, what about physical coordination? Just talk to an athlete. Some of them will throw an object like a football, and you do this for them and they will have better hand-eye coordination. So you can improve people's life doing these real basic things. So remember to do them. Now, the second thing I want to talk, we just talked about the visual stuff. Let's talk about, okay, there's a question. Love it. Thanks a lot for the joke. The ear thing, the ear pull thing, the auricular correction. Does everybody here know it? Yes? No? Okay, pretty well everybody does know it. Who uses it on themselves regularly? Okay, fair enough. Who does it with clients? Okay, good. Who does it only with the head turned, head straight? Okay. Who does it when they do it, they get the person to turn their head? Okay, so different people have learned from different instructors, and I have seen people do this all day long and get nowhere with it. And I'm going to tell you something that's really important. You want to do it with the head turn. Now, if you have 3 minutes at a network event and you want people to remember you, leave them with this calling card. How many North Americans have got tension here? And Europeans and Australians. And so if I ever get an opportunity, I say, look, I love to help people release pain out of their body. And I do a thing called muscle tuning, trademark, but you could talk about muscle balancing. But so just say, okay, tune into how much discomfort you have and be careful and turn your head one way. See how far you can turn and where you feel any discomfort. And if 0 is none and 10 is a lot, pick a number. Now look the other way and notice if you're looking equally as far and if you have a different amount of tension in your neck or not. So that takes 30 seconds to set that up. Then I go up to the screen and I say, in a minute, don't do it yet. You're going to be unpinching your ear and pulling on your ear. You all know the thing, and going all the way up, down. And I say, now what we're all going to do, everybody look right, and everybody do this for the right ear and look as far as you can. And I have them do the thing. And I say, and it works better. And it helps you remember things like later when you're not on this call listening to my pretty voice. Listen out for the sound of a ticking clock or the cars outside or whatever it is, because this activates the neurology of how your brain files auditory information. So if your kids aren't listening to you, or the kids need to remember what they hear at school and you've just paid a couple $1,000s for their lessons, or you've got to go to an important meeting, turn on your ears first. So I kind of slip that in, that little kind of idea of why they're doing it. At the same time, along that, I have everybody turn left, and you're going to do it on the left side. And then usually in there, I then slip in the idea that when you're pulling on your ear and activating and rubbing and pulling and rubbing and pulling and tugging and all that, you're activating something like over 300 acupressure points in your ear. And you're doing that at the same time as your neck is turned. And when your neck is turned, there are these really important, and I'll say it to you, but I don't tell it to them, these AT&R reflexes, the asymmetrical tonic neck reflexes. And those reflexes are set that when your head turns, it prepares muscles to lock or unlock because it's getting ready in case you fall over. Now, what happens if your thermostat for these reflexes is incorrectly set? And so you've got all this tension, all these muscles are tightened up because they've just learned to get to that position and they've never learned to relax. What happens is when you're activating all the acupoints and you have your head turned at the same time, voila, you are affecting a correction. So that's part of what's going on when you're doing that auricular correction with the head turned. And then you have them measure again, and everybody goes, what? Oh, like 96% of the people I show this to, even if they didn't have tension in their neck at first, they can go further and they go, oh, that little bit of tugging that I really didn't consider pain or anything, gone. So it's really important to help people do that. And like I said, if you are resetting that near the beginning of a session, imagine all the other muscles you don't have to spend time fixing. because they're inappropriately tight or inappropriately not tight. That could be useful, right? Now, assuming you're all sitting here and you're all sold on the whole idea of it, have any of you done this by twisting your torso? So when we do it for auricular, we're only turning the head. But what if you're sitting and your butt is firmly in a chair and you twist your whole torso, and you do this looking as far as you can, and I like to do both ears at once, especially for this one, you're going to increase flexibility. So that's just, take that 20 or 30 seconds to activate the ear while a person's twisted one way and then twist the other way. And the reason I'm telling you this is if you've got somebody in pain and you're doing a virtual session, this will get their attention pretty fast. That you can help reduce the pain by pulling on their ears, not just here, but general pain in other part of their body can disappear as well. What else did I want to tell you about this? There was one other cool thing I wanted to tell you. Well, I think I did cover it. Any questions so far? Vagus nerve. I don't have any research on that, but I would suspect it would have to help the vagus nerve. By the way, the whole thing about the vagus nerve and people being in fight, flight, and needing to calm the vagus nerve down. Did you know that I've approached physiotherapists and they go, oh yeah, the sympathetic nervous system, that is so hard when people have had an accident and you're working on them, the effort it takes to get through and calm that sympathetic nervous system and get people into a parasympathetic state. I'm going, really? Come over here. And I'll ask their body in my cute little innocent way, which system to work on. And then I'll do a muscle test and they're like, what the hell? And I go, yeah. And then let's rub this reflex point, whatever it is. And I'll test the muscle again. And they're going, what the hell? And then you go chit chat for a little while and then wait for it. And I had one particular astute physiotherapist go, it's the weirdest thing. I feel energized, but I feel calm. And I'm going, that's what happens when you do this kind of work. So this is the point. Did you know that every time you activate a neurolymphatic or hold a neurovascular, you are activating the parasympathetic system? Is that news to anybody? Good, at least one person's smiling and nodding. Yeah, you are literally pulling people out of fight flight by rubbing on a reflex long enough. And this is why you don't want to shortchange it and just do it. Oh, 10 seconds, it switched on the muscle. No, you want to get in there and you want to do it long enough so that the body goes, oh, now you're going to have more durable results. And that's part of the neurology that's going on behind there. So the whole thing with the ears, that's a whole other thing, is why is it just mentioned at the start of Touch for Health and then it's just kind of often forgotten? I think there are probably a few really good instructors that do say this is important and this is why it's important. And don't just rush through it because I want to have you listening better at the beginning of class. So everybody do this, but use it with clients because everything you can do to release the tension up here and or through the spine, it's just going to make your work a lot easier. You're not going to be fighting them so much. Anybody have those clients that are super over facilitated and a locked muscle is like this and an unlocked muscle is just like, eek. Maybe we should go back to the basics and do the visual stuff and the auditory stuff. And there's all kinds of cool research in the AK books about how when eyes are in a certain position, it can either switch a muscle on or switch a muscle off. And so we always teach people, keep your head straight, don't move, don't look down, don't turn around, because this can mask things that you should be finding. So this is part of the reason too with those, there's the TLR and the ATNR and the STNR, all those things, just remind yourself when you're testing, head neutral always, you're going to find more stuff. And watch the eyes, because if the eyes are turned one way or the other, they can accidentally be switching things on that are off, or switching things off that really aren't off, but you're going to go off and spend time fixing it. It's really not a big deal. So just go back to the basics and have the eyes and the ears switched on. Any questions so far? Okay. Now, if you ever get around a live class of people where you can have some fun, you want to work with the spinal reflexes. And this is one of the few instances where if a little is good, then more is better. Now, this is a huge one. And I have people who do demonstrations and they work on pain, and they can get people's pain gone in a single session. And what the client remarks about is, look at that, I can bend forward and tie my shoes now. That's what they care about. Like, they cared about the pain. But what they're telling all their friends is, I don't know what happened, but now I'm all of a sudden bending forward and touching my toes. And part of that is by activating the spinal reflexes in a purposeful way. So here's Max. Max really needs to go see the doctor about this. This is beyond my scope of practice. But when it comes to here, do you know why we rub on the one spinal segment and 1 inch up and 1 inch down? And I know you guys are all muted, but some of you may not know this, is that fixations are really usually chunks of 3 spinal vertebrae that are stuck. That's my language. And you don't pick this up on an x-ray. X-rays only pick up if they're subluxated. So one of them sticking out a little bit, the x-ray will show, well, that's not supposed to be that way. That must be annoying the nervous system. But just having the vertebrae being basically stuck and not properly flexing upon each other is causing a lot of stress in the nervous system. The nerves that go out and talk to the organs, the glands, the muscles, and all that stuff. That's why you want to rub a little bit above, a little bit below, and then do the whole section with the intention of sticking them without doing chiropractic. So what happens if you go all the way from the very top of the neck and take 2 minutes for sure, or even 3 minutes to work your whole way down? And I encourage you to go down onto the sacrum and do that as long, like in little sections or whatever, but work it for about 2 to, I really love 3 minutes. If you have somebody do a forward bend before you start, and they do a twist, and they turn their neck, they do that kind of stuff, and you do that, and then you have them measure it again, and they'll go, woo, look at that, and they'll drop down. Some of them, their hands will be palms flat on the floor. Other people, where their hands could barely get to their knees, will definitely drop down to their lower shin. I've had so much fun doing this. Yes, you want to ask a question?
Yeah, do you find that when you do that, I mean, does that hold? Or do you still have to go and actually balance the muscles that are causing the stress and the fixation in the first place?
It's a fun way to get people's attention. Okay. And some people, it'll hold reasonably well until the next time they misuse their body. But yes, the whole idea with a subluxation in particular, what's pulling the bone out of a place? It is a muscle that's pulling on the bone. Bone just doesn't go walkabout by itself. It's because somebody on one side's gone loosey-goosey and the other guy seems to be tight, but he's not tight. He's just got no opposing force anymore. And whoopsie doopsie, we've got a subluxation that happens. The fixations tend to be anterior posterior, not so much right to left. So did that answer your question reasonably well enough? It's a fun demonstration to get people's attention and say, now, if you want more, here's my business card, come on and see me. And it's definitely a fun thing to do when there's a group event where you can get everybody rubbing each other's backs in a train, in a big circle. And we've had a number of people in pain where we go, before you come to your session, do you have a tennis ball and do you have some kind of a stocking? And then what you're going to do is then you coach them to lean against the wall. The reason it's in a stocking is so it doesn't run away when you go up and down. Because then it runs away, the dog slobbers all over it, and then you don't want to put it on your back anymore. But that's really, you know, and you can do the parts that you can reach, use the ball for the parts that are harder to reach, and go all the way down your lumbar. Make sure you also do it on your sacrum. Most people wouldn't do the sacrum. And I know there are some Touch for Health instructors who teach to rub the whole spinous processes all the way for something to do, but I don't know that all of them say it's a really good practice to do for self-care. And if you've got one of those therapy balls that's a little gushy, you can lean that against the wall, it won't run away. Or, you know, just borrow a friendly family member and say, you know, please do this to me, for me, so I won't be so cranky today. What you're really doing is you're at least temporarily releasing any pressure to all your organs and glands and your muscles. It just clears a whole bunch of stuff. And I love to train the massage therapists to say, you know what, you've got some clients and you spend an hour trying to soften them up, get them prone, down on the face, and you do this on their spine for 2 minutes at the start of the session. Right? Do that. And now guess what happens? They relax more. Some people are more relaxed after that than after an hour of massage. So now when you give a massage, you can really get in there and just really work on the troublesome areas, not just the whole body being like that. So our massage therapists who take our system really, really do like it. Now, what's really interesting is that fixations, and I don't understand this part at all, but you can have fixations in the sacrum. So that's not 3 spinal segments stacked on top of each other, but fixations in the sacrum, as well as fixations in the lumbar area, totally and completely can switch off neck muscles. So you got people with cranky necks, you might want to make sure you do the little rubby-dubby trick all through the lumbar area down to the sacrum to help with holding the anterior and posterior, so the posterior neck extensors and the anterior neck flexors. Mostly it's extensors that are affected with the fixations. So if you got people with cranky necks that don't seem to want to hold very well, give them a rubby-dubby on the other end and see what happens. Any questions about that? And some people, I will say, don't have a very good spinal endurance. I don't know what else to call it, but their spinal positioning is not robust. And I've seen people switch off muscles. You know how you use spinal reflexes up and down to switch something on? And as Alexis has heard me say, don't do it the wrong way or you'll blow up. Right? And it's just like, I literally have that in the program. And I've had some people go, I'm not sure if I like what you're saying. Like, that really scared me. It's like, other people go, oh, it's kind of important then. I'll make a special note, only rub up and down. Until we get to the reactive part, and we say sometimes it's really convenient if you can't get into the spindle cells, which is for many reasons the best correction. You can rub sideways on the spinal segment if it's not the same spinal segment for the reactor as for the reactive, and that will switch a muscle off. So guess what a lot of people do after they've had a bath or a shower? They've got a towel and they're doing this, right? And some people, literally, I think you just need to breathe on them and they subluxate. So don't do it. If you're going to do that, take the towel and rub up and down on the spine. And if you've got people with lots of reactivity, teach them they might be abusing their body in a way that they didn't know. So you don't do that with a towel on the neck so much, but you do it in the mid-back, correct? And sometimes the lumbar. So see if you can use the towel on the thoracic part, because that's easy, and then use your fingers on your lumbar to reset it. Or just don't go side to side. Okay. So towel always end with an up and down. Do we have some more time? I've got one more little chunk I'd love to share.
It's like 10 to the hour. So if you want to take a couple more minutes and then we can let people ask questions and
two more minutes again. Just charging in there because I've got an audience. Everybody knows about the gate points, correct? Most of you are familiar with it. And we can cheat in the clinic to just touch, circuit locate and go, oh, that point is off, and just go rub it, or to do it on ourselves. Just go, oh, or just rub them because it's good for you. But back to applied physiology, the concept is activate the neurology. Activate the neurology before you do something, you'll get a better result. Now, what's really fun is it didn't take me very long of teaching gate points before reactives when we were in in-person seminars for me to realize if everybody did a really good job of fixing the gates, there were no reactives to demonstrate on. Everybody couldn't find a reactive in the room. It was, did that twice and I went, no. From now on, we teach reactives first and then gates. So are you familiar with how powerful the gates are at interrupting chronic pain patterns and chronic misuse of the muscles? So do gates. Do gates at the end of every session. Just rub the points to lock in the benefits of what you've done. I tell massage therapists, save about 4 minutes at the end of every session and rub all those points on the feet, right and left, to lock in the benefits of massage session, lock in the benefits of Reiki, lock in even reflexology sessions. The reflexologists love, because these points are different than the reflexology points. And they do lock in the benefit and they bring integration. And from the whole concept of centering, this is really one of the foundational pieces of getting people lined up and their posture working ready. So the last thing I want to say is if you're going to rub them for yourself, let's say everybody know about Paloa. So where the points are on the foot, P-A-L-O-O-A, under the foot. So let's say we're working with posterior, right arm back, left leg back. Activate that a few times and notice I'm moving the left leg. So now I'm going to come and rub. I am so authentic. I'm going to rub that spot on the left foot because I was moving the left leg backwards. Then I'm going to do right leg, right arm, do that. And it's this leg. So I am, oops, got to twist this way. I'm going to rub in that point, which is spleen 3. And then I would go through all the associated motions. Forward, the anterior ones, the lateral ones, the adduction ones, the abduction ones. I would activate all those muscles for myself very briefly, then rub the points. And so if you yourself have chronic challenges, do that every day for a couple of days and notice that things are going to start staying fixed. So that's about it. And should you feel inclined to add muscle tuning to your toolkit, you're going to go find our programs out on the GEMS College catalog. Excuse me. Water's good. Go take a look at the GEMS College catalog online. And if you want more information about things pertinent to you, reach out to me for questions. And I am going to pop my contact information in the chat, which is here. And I really, if I've enthused you or anybody that sees this video in the future, I do implore you to, if you're going to invest in Muscle Tuners programs, sign up at the GEMS College, because they are an affiliate, and I want to make sure that they get compensated for having given me an opportunity to give this presentation. And if you happen to be on LinkedIn or Facebook much, I'd love for you to like and follow or connect in some way. I'd love to stay in touch with what you're doing. And now I will pin our lovely Alexis Costello and say thanks a lot for letting me hang out with your group. And I hope that a few of them have a few questions.
Cool. Yeah, I'm going to encourage everyone to unmute and discuss and ask any questions.